Hi everybody, Jim Hamilton with Core Resonance. This is the latest video to go with my latest newsletter. My latest newsletter is titled Intentional Allowing. And actually intentional allowing is an interesting subject. It's kind of something we just kind of discovered, you might say. I was working with a client a couple weeks ago, and I had written the article, what's it called? Allowing Begets Order. And I knew when I wrote it there was a limitation in that article because, allowing, as very powerful as it is, starting from scratch is a really rough way to go. Hey, there's my cat, by the way, decided to be in on the video. That's Bud. Anyway, allowing it works much better when you already have the momentum. Now, it's true that, in other words, you already are in the process of creating your realities. You're creating your realities with allowing instead of resistance. And actually, as you move from resistance-based to reality creating and move more toward allowing, you find that your reality creating starts to clean up. And so your allowing becomes easier. And so that's where we like to see allowing, kind of in that realm. And when you have to start from scratch, though, it's a very powerful thing, but it's not. It's got some disadvantages, and that is, and I'll explain. Let's say you're in a really tough situation, and your only tool available to you is allowing. Now, of course, allowing doesn't mean you can't be in prayer and be using other components of how you would dig yourself out of a hole, so to speak. But the problem with allowing, if you will, is that you have to allow whatever somebody's feeding you. If somebody's giving you a hard time, you find yourself having to allow that. In other words, there's still that dialogue, that old dynamic with the person you don't really want to be involved with. Let's say you're married and you're still living together, or it's a boss and it's a really difficult situation. Allowing is the way you do it, but the problem with allowing is, if you will, that the person that's throwing the curveballs, you have to allow them. And so for a while, until you escape this relationship, you find yourself allowing things that are driven by somebody else. So in the title of my book, Observers Thrive in Good Times and Suffer in Bad, Visionaries Thrive in All Times, what you have is, in a manner of speaking, allowing based on what somebody's doing to you. And so there's a kind of observation that you're kind of caught up in a little bit. That means that they're an object of your attention, even if you're allowing. And so out of this has come an understanding of intentional allowing. So in the same scenario, somebody's in a tough situation, a relationship, a marriage, could be a lot of different things. Intentional allowing is where you hold a vision of what you want. So now your focus has changed. It's changed from the person you were having a tough time with and found, because they've been the object of your attention for so long. That was the dysfunction in the relationship. They keep throwing you curveballs. You keep trying to make sense of it, and you stay in that dynamic. So here instead, in this kind of allowing, we hold a vision for what we want. It could be a sunrise. It could be a happy, safe, newfound, when I say relationship, that next, what would happen to you once you escape this relationship? You start to relax, you start to have peace, you start to have that ability to relax and let go. And so the vision is what you want to have, and what the allowing is about is anything that gets in the way of it. So allowing is now driven by your intention. Now, just for a little side thing, you could have allowing based on your focus. I was just in a conversation about this afternoon. The problem with focus, and focus of course has a lot of benefit, is you've limited what your outcome can be by your focus. Think about it. It's a mind-driven, you've got your attention on something, it's your focus. Of course, we always, as I think I mentioned in the last video, we try to have that situation. We want what we want or whatever's better. But my point is, is allowing with intention. Intention is a much broader bandwidth, and when you have intention, you allow, curiously, for innate intelligence to partner with you in what you're trying to achieve. Focus, it's very narrow. You don't give much venue for innate intelligence to interface with you. Of course, it will anyway. It certainly will try. But if you broaden your goal, if you will, a little bit, if you move to an intention, I want to feel fine. I want to feel safe. I want to feel happy. I want to have money in my pocket. I want my money to be my own. I want that freedom. I want that comfort in my life. If you hold a vision of that and you hold it as an intention, and what you do is you allow everything that interferes with that, you might say. In other words, as you're working your way up the ladder of having what you want in your life, you have to allow other things, but you hold your vision on what you want. I hope you can see the distinction. To take it just a step further, I used to work with somebody in Sedona, and I learned from him that as a visionary myself, I hold a vision, of course, of the end result, and that's what we want to learn how to do. But even more than that, I see through the debris field. So that's kind of the characteristics of visionaries, is they can hold a vision for the end result, and they don't get dissuaded by the curveballs that come. And so when you say you get away from the difficult relationship, you're back on level ground, and you're climbing toward the next thing you want in your life, the next thing you want to experience, the next thing you want to achieve. The ability to see through the debris field, which is basically to say to ignore the debris, to ignore the curveballs that come from every different direction. You hold your vision on the end result. And I've actually operated like this for a very long time. As people may know, I retired when I was 30. I had a 40-foot sailboat from just before I was 26 to 34. I sailed till I was ready to see women in skirts and high heels again. So I've done, I'm self-taught in law. I do all the different kinds of things that I want, the curiosities that are important to me. And what that means is I will hold a vision for what I want. What I'm curious about is what drives me. And I've learned how to have the horsepower to not be dissuaded by things that might interfere with that process, or maybe other people would walk away. I continue. To an example, when I wrote Visionaries Thrive in All Times, that was totally unexpected. That was 25 months for the manuscript. I will say I was eating Costco hot dogs at a certain point in that. That was 25 months. The whole thing was 3 years and 9 months. And that was quite a project. I'd also mentioned the free cell game. I learned how to start using free cell, and I discovered that if I would walk away from a game that I was losing, instead of just kind of playing the game rotely, or as soon as I discovered I was losing or starting to not have good moves, I'd walk away from the game or close it and come back to it, and invariably see moves that I didn't see. And what I learned from that was that I don't always see everything there is to see. In other words, that's part of the reason we want to do intention, and we want to hold intentions, because we want to allow for the unknown to become a partner in what we're trying to do, as we allow the things that aren't participating. In other words, we don't want to push them away, but as we learn how to hold a vision for what we want, as we learn how to be intentional, allowing becomes a little bit easier. And of course, as we start to achieve our goals and our wishes, and our reality creating starts to clean up, we start moving away from resistance. Allowing becomes even easier. This is called momentum. Just since I mentioned momentum, and I've got just a tiny bit of time here, reality creating is an accumulation of our patterns and habits. And if we happen to be lucky enough to have chosen our patterns and habits, obviously most patterns and habits that we have were chosen unconsciously, and they kind of run, concurrently in the background. But as we become more conscious, we kind of break down the patterns and habits that don't work. We reformulate our patterns and habits. It's actually a big part of, big component of Visionaries Thrive in All Times. As we build our momentum, as we learn how to build our momentum through intention and allowing, our momentum takes on a life of its own. It does anyway, but it often brings us not the things we want. If we can learn how to create, it's actually what we create is our momentum, and our momentum brings us our realities. And as we learn how to clean that momentum up, it refines our reality creating. And what we really want in the end is reality creating that is completely healthy. We want our patterns and habits to be open-ended. We want them to run on their own. And what we really want is our resources to be free. We want our capacity for insight and all that to be available while the mechanical part of our life runs on its own. And of course, in the higher quality that it can is really what we're all learning how to do. So I'm going to end with that. Let me mention I have a newsletter come out. It's a little bit different. I'm going to have put my 5 books together for the first time in kind of a sale. You'll see that. Every once in a while I have a discount on you can buy the 5 books together. It's called the, what do I call it? Shortcuts Through Life series. In other words, all these insights about allowing and the difference between allowing and resistance and all this kind of stuff. These are shortcuts, and this is what my work's about. So keep an eye out for that. Every once in a while I run a discount on the series. It's 5 books and or 5 audios. And so let me suggest that allowing is what we need to learn how to do. Allowing is a phase of love. What is love? Love is allowing. You know, there's a lust type of love, but allowing is allowing whatever is to be. And as we hold a vision on what we want, the things that aren't important to us take no attention and they fade out. You see, it's when we resist is when they stay with us. So I'm going to exit this video. I want to thank you all for listening. Have a great day. Namaste. Thank you.